Right, well, I'll start. My name's Denis, and welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming on this warm day. It's a beautiful day, but it's quite warm, quite hot in here. So what I'd like to present over the next 3 weeks is a topic that I find very meaningful, and it's about the precious human rebirth. And the precious human rebirth is really important to understand, because if we realise we have something precious, then we might want to use it. And if we don't use something that's extremely precious and rare, then we've lost a great opportunity. And we don't want to do that. So we really need to make an effort to recognise what's precious. So first of all, doesn't matter if I turn my head around. First of all, I just wanted to introduce you, give you a bit of my background. You know, like in my early 20s, I had a close group of friends, and I was right into surfing and right into going on holidays, smoking dope, trying to meet girls. You know, I had a pretty normal 20-year-old interest, and it just it came to the point that I thought there must be more substance and meaning to life, something deeper. And I couldn't see that beyond my social circle, because it was all the same things happening over and over. So I was already very open to the idea of clairvoyance and telepathy and these sorts of things fascinated me. I thought there must be some truth to these sort of developments of the mind, which I knew nothing about, but I thought there must be some truth to it. So I wanted to investigate that a bit further. And so I started to read, and the things that I read about, I found fascinating. Like, I don't know if any of you have heard of this particular author, Edgar Cayce was his name, but anyway, he's called The Sleeping Prophet. He was in America, and he used to go into a trance, and his book would talk about how he would travel or recollect past lives. And as soon as I heard that, I thought that has some, I can relate to that, I believe that. And so I was very interested to read more and more about that. And also he introduced the idea of karma, that there is a consequence from our actions. And again, that made every sense to me. So I thought, I like this. So I read more and more about that. And somewhere along the way, I heard about meditation. I thought, my God, that's got to be the tool to access our inner world and our inner development. So I thought, I have to know more about meditation. And I guess it was just, I think it's universally understood that meditation aligns with Buddhism, perhaps, or Eastern philosophies. So I went along to a meditation course up in Upwey, and, to learn more about what's Buddhism about. And when I arrived there, I was quite shocked to see that there was this big statue of the Buddha in the room. I thought, I don't want to be part of a cult. I don't want to follow anything that sort of draws you in. And so that was my initial reaction. But anyway, I did stay for that particular course, and I listened. And what the teacher at that time talked about were all the things that just rung true to me. Reincarnation, karma, inner potential, the idea of being able to develop our inner potential, and the idea of being able to achieve enlightenment. And that really resonated with me even more. So then, that was it. I wanted to know more about Buddhism. And through circumstances, I don't know. It's funny how things happen, how you meet people and how things just happen. But I came across a Tibetan Lama, and his name was Geshe Dawa, And he was the first teacher here at Tara Institute. Not here, but it was in Kew at the time. This was in the 1980. And, you know, that's really what he demonstrated all the qualities of somebody who was truly a spiritual person, and his humility and his warmth and his kindness, and let alone listening to him teach about the principles of Buddhism. And so I felt very comfortable that I had found a true teacher, someone that I could trust and rely on, and I wanted to learn more from. So that was really how I became connected with Tibetan Buddhism, through Geshe Dawa. And of course Geshe Doga, who many of you, who has met Geshe Doga here? Have any of you met Geshe Doga? Well, isn't that amazing? I'm very happy for you all, because Geshe Doga is the resident teacher here. And when Geshe Dawa went back to India, Geshe Doga took over as the resident teacher. And he's been teaching here since 1983, I think, 1983. And he just, you know, his humility again, his kindness, his warmth, the fact that he's guided us for all these years, I feel a great blessing, and I'm so grateful for. It has added richness to my life. And also, of course, I've met the Dalai Lama a number of times, attended some of his teachings, and he's a great inspiration in my life. So I feel you're all lucky, in a way, to have landed at Tara Institute, where this centre holds the pure, unbroken lineage of the Buddha's teachings. So it's pure. There's no, you know, people can be misled. There's so many people that mislead people. They take them down the wrong path, they have ulterior motives. What are they really doing? They put themselves on a pedestal, they're a great teacher. We've seen that story so many times. And, you know, when I was preparing for this talk, I remember when I was I think I was a teenager. Actually, I was a teenager. It happened in 1978. And I don't know if any of you remember Jim Jones, but anyway, he was somebody in America. I don't know what he was. It was I can't quite think of the word. It was sort of Christian fundamental beliefs, but he'd gone off on a tangent and he'd created his own followers, and he was the teacher of this particular following, whatever. But what horrified me was that he basically led 900 of his followers to drink cyanide and to die. And when I actually looked up on Google just to refresh my memory about it, most of those were children. So I'm just saying, be careful. You need to check. If you're going to follow somebody or feel you want to follow somebody, check up. You have to do your own investigation because, you know, you want to be sure. And, you know, like when I feel 100% confident because I've known Geshe Doga for 40 years. I know who his teachers are. I've listened to his teachings. There's no ulterior motive because the essential teaching is love, compassion, developing our inner potential. So, but you all need to do your own investigation and check that. That's really important. So, so what I'm wanting to talk about over the next 3 weeks, and basically tonight, we've only got an hour. So I wanted to break that up. So I'll talk for 20 minutes or so, and then we can do a little meditation together. And then I really welcome you to ask any questions on the topic, or if you've got burning questions about anything, about Buddhism or spirituality, throw them to me. I'm not an expert, but I'll do my best to answer it. And there are definitely, experts that can answer your questions clearly. If I can't, I'll certainly try to. So, how did I go? I haven't done a talk for a long time. I'm doing this because the Monday nights have been happening for, I don't know, how many years? 30 years, maybe? And there's a core group of Monday night teachers. And a few of them have gone to India, maybe a few have been going for a long, long time. And so they approached Geshe Doga and asked, is there anyone else we can introduce to that? And he mentioned my name. So that's the only reason I'm here. And I feel like I have to. But I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to present what I think is a really important topic. But I tend to shy away from public speaking. But that doesn't matter. So I wanted to start by just starting by looking at who we are. And who are we? We are a combination of body and mind. We've got our body, we exercise our body, and we have a mind. The mind is not a body. It's separate. It's formless, it's shapeless, it's colourless. The definition of mind is that which is clear and knowing. So it's like consciousness. And we all know that our mind is the boss, really. That's what really determines whether we are happy or not. Even if things go wrong in our life, if we can keep a positive mind, a positive attitude, our mind is where our strength comes from. And so Buddhism is all about the mind. It's all about developing our inner potential. And we all have, Buddhism presents that every sentient being, and I don't know if the word sentient being is unfamiliar to people. It was to me when I first heard about it. But sentient means, conscious. I hear about it on Star Trek. I don't know if you've watched Star Trek, but they talk about sentient beings because they're out in the universe, so they're trying to include all beings, all conscious beings. So they say sentient beings in that show. But Buddhism often talks about sentient beings. So I just went off my track. So that's what's in common to us all. We are all sentient beings. And, that's right, sorry. So all sentient beings have the seed, have the potential to achieve enlightenment. Every sentient being. An ant, the fish, and us human beings all have the potential. But the circumstances to truly be able to activate that seed, to water it, to fertilise it, to cultivate it, really only come together in a human life. So that's where we get the term a precious human life, because a precious human life is more than a human life. Like there is 8 billion humans on this earth. Very few have a precious human rebirth according to the presentation in Buddhism. And I'm going to go through that. The precious human rebirth, we need to recognise it first, and it's said to have 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. And this is the book that I've been reading, which I've had in my bookcase, like other books that I haven't read. And I thought I have to read this. This is a teacher, Lama Zopa, and he's an incredible teacher. He passed away a year ago, but he has taught tirelessly throughout the world, inspired so many people. He's just incredible. And anyway, so I wanted to talk about the precious human rebirth, so I thought it's probably best that I read this book again. And it's just wonderful. I've been telling my wife, you have to read this, because it's really, it's just inspiring, because the bottom line is, even though we don't recognise it, we have a great potential and a great opportunity. So we need to invest effort into recognising that, otherwise we may miss the opportunity. This life isn't forever. Death will come one day. When that happens, this life is finished. Any potential that we may have had, which we haven't used, it's gone. So we've lost that opportunity. So if you want to bring your mobile phone up later on, you can photograph the book, you can Google it, you can buy a PDF of it. You know, I really recommend it. It's in the bookshop here at TI as well, but it's a really good one to buy. So, so there was a particular verse by a Indian Buddhist master whose name was Shantideva, and he wrote a book called A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life in the 8th or 9th century in India, and to this day it's one of the most important Buddhist texts, and it's broken up into 10 chapters, and it describes how to live a moral life, how to practice generosity, how to have patience, how to cultivate wisdom, how to live a virtuous life. And it's just beautiful. It's really a wonderful text. But anyway, one of the verses in that text says, "Relying on the boat of a human form, free yourself from the great river of pain. As it is hard to find this boat again, this is no time to sleep, you fool." And so I took this verse to heart many years ago, because I'm lazy and I sleep in. I don't do that now, but for a long time I did sleep in, but I'm still lazy. And so I took to heart that last line, "This is no time to sleep, you fool." So it's really reinforcing again, you have an opportunity, you can't let it go, you must make the best use of it. So who's new to Buddhism here tonight that hasn't really heard much of Buddhism at all? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. Well, look, I just wanted to give a quick summary of the essence of what Buddhism is about. And, you know, there's three things, the three most important principles within Buddhism. Not to harm others, to avoid it as much as you can. Don't harm others. To help others as much as possible, if you can, and to train the mind. That's it. That is the essence of Buddhism. So that's all founded, obviously, on love and compassion. There's no deceit in those three things anywhere. It's about not harming others, because we don't like to be harmed, so why should we harm others? If we're in difficulty and someone comes to our assistance, we appreciate that, and we should offer the same to others as well. And train the mind. So the mind, which is what I was sort of getting back in, you know, my early days before I was really interested in Buddhism, you know, I'd hear about psychics and clairvoyance, and I thought there must be some truth to that somewhere, you know, and what is that? So that was all about the potential for training the mind. So that's how I relate to training the mind. So what we're trying to do with our mind, what is in common with all sentient beings, is that we want to be happy. That's our most prime wish, and we want to be parted from anything unpleasant, any suffering. Buddhism uses the word suffering a lot, and I think it's important at a time to recognise suffering for what it is, because if you don't, then you won't see that there's a need to do something about it. So, do you all agree that that's what we want? We want happiness, we don't want suffering. And look at us all here. We're all here tonight talking about this topic, if we had found happiness, you know, deep inner happiness, we probably wouldn't be here. So we're actually looking for something. We're still looking for more fulfillment. But we're not here to watch a movie. We're not here to go on a holiday. We're not here to go shopping. We're not here to buy something. We're here. I can just look at you all. We're all here because we want to learn something about the mind. We're looking for something more real and something more, substantial. And, isn't it amazing, though, when you think about it, to think that you can develop your mind to the point that you have such inner calm and inner peace that even though the world around you is going crazy, you can maintain that inner peace and inner calm. I think that's a real achievement, because mostly we're up and down. We're happy today, we're not happy tomorrow. Somebody says this that really disturbs us. We don't get what we want. And our life can be very up and down, and it's hard to get out of that cycle. But it is possible through cultivating positive thoughts and actually, Lama Zopa, which is the author of this book, who was in the photo there on the left-hand side, he always talks about the importance of living and practicing bodhicitta, which is a word. Have anyone heard of bodhicitta before? And bodhicitta is, a really precious state of mind which is totally dedicated for the benefit of others. And so that's a really hard mind to cultivate, but the substance that makes that mind is the foundation of love and compassion. Everybody appreciates love and compassion. All the world religions promote love and compassion. It's the most important thing. So we need to check up in our own lives. Are we practicing love and compassion as much as we could? We are human beings, Of course, we have selfish tendencies. We put ourselves before others. Often we do that. But, of course, we also do have pure love. We demonstrate that we have pure love for others and care and kindness towards others. So there's a bit of a mixture there between selfish mind and a mind that cares more about others. So the selfish mind really is only going to end us up in trouble, even though it seems to be who we trust the most. We have to be selfish because we've got to look after ourselves, otherwise no one else will look after us. But when you think about that selfish mind, it's just thinking me, 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 me. As soon as we think of me, 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 we're tight inside. We're already feeling less peaceful because it's just me, me, me. And, I think we can all reflect in our own lives and recognise that. So the idea is to lessen so much self-talk and self-interest and free ourselves by being more open and trying to cultivate more love and more kindness and more compassion for others. And that brings more peace within our own mind. So that's very much one of the most important things that Lama Zopa says in terms of the precious human rebirth. So I will go into all the points, all that I probably won't tonight, but I hope you can come back again next week because there are 8 freedoms that we have, and there are 10 richnesses that we also have. So the combination of these 18 give us what is called this precious human rebirth. So just the context of the precious human rebirth is recognising it. How do we recognise it? We'll go through those 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. Why is it what is so meaningful about that? And, you know, there are things to talk about that as well. And how rare is it to get a precious human rebirth? It's extremely rare. And, you know, no guarantee that we'll obtain a precious human rebirth in our next life. So I've actually touched on a whole lot of things here. I mean, who even believes in reincarnation? Or who believes in reincarnation? Who's open to that idea? Okay, I mean, that's great. You know, and those that don't, that's also great, because, you know, because it's your life. You need to do the analysis. You need to be comfortable with what you believe. And if you don't believe that there is a future life, then that's all right. But do try and live a moral, kind and gentle life. And whether you believe there's a life beyond this one or not, you will experience a happier, more content and peaceful life in this one. So, but you have come to a Buddhist institute. Or my wife hates the word institute because it sounds too university-like, but Tara House. And so I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why, the logical proofs that lead one to see that reincarnation is probably the case. And so it's I was going to do 20 minutes talk, 20 minutes meditation, but 20 minutes meditation is probably a bit too long. It's a bit too hot. It might be a bit hard. And then we'll have a discussion. So I'll just talk a little bit longer. So, okay, we talked about who we are, a body and mind. And our mind, some of the qualities of the mind, it's clear and knowing. But I love to do woodwork. And, you know, I've got a whole lot of tools and whatever. I can make a table, I can make a bed frame, simple things, but I cannot make consciousness out of wood, out of any material. I cannot, because mind is formless. Do you all agree? You know, you can't touch mind. So then, when the sperm and egg came together and the cells started to divide and the body formed, did form make mind? No, material can't make mind. So what Buddhism says, at the point of conception, consciousness from our past life enters the sperm and egg in union, and the baby develops. And here we are. We're a human being with a body and a mind. So what we experience day to day is our gross consciousness. We see, we hear, we feel, we touch, we taste. These are, we think, we have thoughts, we can think. This is gross consciousness. And that functions very much dependent on the brain. That, you know, like if you take drugs of some kind, it can affect your perception. Alcohol, it can affect your perception. So there's a close relationship between the body and the mind. We can see that. But talking about it at the other end of life, rather than at the beginning of life, then when let's just say, we're lying in our bed and we're going to die. I witnessed my dad die. I was there. Many of you would have as well seen loved ones pass away. So, you know, the Buddhism talks about it in a very specific way, that there are 25 constituents that slowly dissolve at the point of death. I won't even try and list what those 25 are, but essentially what we're seeing is gross consciousness is dissolving, is absorbing into a more subtle level of consciousness. And that subtle level of consciousness, we can relate to subtle levels of consciousness, because when we dream, that's subtle, isn't it? That's something we have trouble remembering our dreams from the previous night. But fainting is another example where we experience a subtle type of consciousness. But anyway, so the body's losing its strength, its senses are going, taste is going, hearing's going, cognition, recognition, all of these things are absorbing and dissolving. And then it comes to the point that the body can no longer support consciousness, and the mind leaves the body. But what leaves the body is the most subtle mind. It's the most subtle mind that we only experience at death. And it's that mind that is carried into our next life. And, you know, what is that next life going to be? Well, that most subtle mind carries the seeds of all the actions that we've done in the past and in our present life. So it all makes sense. You know, if you've lived a violent life, you've killed, you've hurt people, you've been totally selfish, it's not a very virtuous life. And, you know, one of the most important principles in Buddhism is karma, the law of cause and effect. So the way that it's explained, every action that we make, every action that we do of body, speech and mind, a seed of that action is planted on the consciousness. And that seed will ripen in the future when the conditions are present for that to ripen. So to talk about the precious human rebirth, I have to talk a little bit about the Buddhist philosophy of the 6 realms of existence. And so I'm just trying to give you very tangible examples. So you can imagine that somebody that's killed animals, killed people, very negative, extremely negative action, they've lived their life, they've continued on in their life. However, those karmic seeds have been planted on their consciousness. They're there. And so when the subtle mind dissolves at that point of death and you move into your next life isn't something foreign. You know, Christianity, I wasn't really brought up as a Christian, but my grandmother was a Christian, or Methodist. And anyway, you know, going to heaven or to hell, you know, all the religions talk about something beyond this life. But anyway, so those karmic seeds are carried forward. So a murderer, those seeds are extremely heavy. They're the most heaviest of all the actions that person has done throughout their life. So in their next life, at the point, there's a particular point just before you die that the most active or the most prominent seeds, karmic seeds that have been planted in your consciousness will predict your next life. So the example I'm giving of a murderer is they will probably be reborn in their immediate next life in a hell realm. Buddhism teaches about a hell realm. What do people think about that? So it's about, you can see the parallels. Somebody's ended somebody's life, destroyed their life. The consequences of that are severe. They've created the cause for that. That hell realm, they created the cause for that. Somebody that's lived a virtuous life, that's always been of assistance to others, has lived a moral life. Morality is the most important, behaviour to live with, to ensure a human rebirth in your next life. So if you've lived your life always observing morality, not wanting to kill or to steal or to lie, sexual misconduct, there's 10 non-virtues of body, speech and mind. So if you observe abstaining from those, that's living a moral life. That's said to be one of the primary causes for a human life. So that's interesting. We have a human life, so we can confidently say from the perspective of the law of cause and effect that we must have behaved well in our past life. Otherwise it couldn't happen. So karma is definite. I wasn't really going to talk about karma, but in a way you have to. Karma is definite. So if you plant a lemon seed in the ground, you will get a lemon tree. If you plant an orange seed, you'll get an orange tree. If you plant the seed of morality, you will get a human rebirth. So, morality is extremely important, and that's, if I don't say any more tonight about anything, that's the most important thing to take away in how we can live our life in a virtuous way and protect. We need to protect our future, because nobody else is going to protect our future. It's our karma. We create the cause, we experience the result. So I went down this track when we were just talking about reincarnation and past lives and future lives, because there have been beginningless lives, and they will continue to cycle through what's called samsara, which is where we're basically being reborn in different realms. In the human realm, if we're fortunate enough, and the animal realm, we can see the animal realm. We can see animals, but they're sentient beings just like us. They have consciousness, they have feelings, but that is the result of non-virtue from their prior life, and they're being reborn as an animal. And there are other realms, like a hungry ghost or a spirit type realm, and then there's a hell realm. And then there are godly realms as well. So there are 6 realms listed. And, I hope it's not a bit overbearing talking about all these 6 realms of cyclic existence, but this is what samsara is. We are trapped in samsara. We have a human life now. We don't want to die, but it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. We can't deny that. When it's going to happen, we can't be sure. But what can help us at that time, for sure, is positive actions, virtuous actions. So we really need to take that to heart, if nothing else. And then we're protecting our future. And in doing that, in protecting our future, in living a moral life, in avoiding these non-virtuous behaviours, we're actually ensuring more inner peace within ourselves. So we're actually experiencing the benefit now as well. So I've gone way over what I wanted to. I haven't really even got to the precious human rebirth and the 8 freedoms and 10 endowments and what they are, but one of them, I'll mention what they are. So, and then we can do a quick meditation. But we are born as human beings. We are not animals. So one of the freedoms that we have, we're not animals. If we were an animal, we'd be very ignorant, we'd be subject to being eaten and chased and attacked by other animals, or subject to, whatever humans want to do to us. We're not an animal. We're free from an animal. We're free from being born in a hell realm. We're free where we can't do anything. It's just suffering. We're free from being born in what's called the Preta realm. And we're free from another realm called a long life God. And this is the result of great virtue, is you can be born into like a godly realm where it's described as very blissful, and basically this particular life as a long life God, which is said that we have all experienced all of these lives in all of these various realms. Basically they're born into a blissful state, and they're just totally absorbed in a blissful state for thousands of years. Then they wake up, and that's it. Nothing happens after that. Then they've exhausted their positive karma, and they may well be reborn in what's called the lower realms as an animal or something like that. So we want to be free from being born as that. So they're the 4 freedoms within the human realm. Then there is the freedom of being born at a time when the Buddha has not descended, when the Buddha has not come and taught. So we're free of that because the Buddha has come. The other one is free from being born as a barbarian. These are old terms, but a barbarian is obviously somebody that, has no sense of right and wrong and is barbaric in their behaviour. So being free from that sort of behaviour. Another one is free from being born as a fool. And that's the interesting thing on that was in the original text it was described as somebody who's deaf or mute. And that was the original explanation of that. But that's obviously not the case because people that are deaf live fulfilled lives now. But I think it was more describing a person in Tibet or in India, if they're deaf and mute, that have no education, nobody would care for them, they couldn't do anything, there's very little that they could do. So that's really what that freedom was more talking about. And the other one is freedom from being born as a heretic. So I don't usually really use the word heretic in my language, but I guess a heretic means somebody that has wild beliefs and or doesn't believe, I think that's what it is, doesn't believe in the law of cause and effect, doesn't believe that there are consequences of our actions, doesn't believe that we have the potential to achieve enlightenment, doesn't believe in the Buddha. So, okay, so let's just do a quick meditation. I'm sorry, we'll just do it for only for 5 minutes, and then I'd really welcome discussion, because discussion's always good, because you might all think that I'm a bit crazy, I'm not sure. It'll give me a chance to get some feedback, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So, all right, so if you've been to Monday nights before, you know that there's a meditation posture. The most important thing is to have a straight back, because the straight back encourages concentration. We have a spine and our energy channels run parallel with the spine. So the straighter the back, the better the concentration. Have your legs crossed if you can, but it doesn't matter. The spine is the most important thing. And put your right hand on your left hand and your thumbs touching and your thumbs pointing, resting about the level of your navel, or resting on your lap and your thumbs pointing to your navel. Then your head's tilted slightly forward, your eyes are open, not strongly focusing, but looking along the length of the nose. Your teeth are not clenched, just gentle. Your tongue resting up on the palate. And your arms a little bit away from the body to let that circulation. We'll just sit in that position for a little bit, and then what we're really doing is using our breath as an object of meditation to help us calm the mind. And then if we calm the mind, you can rest in a neutral state, not agitated, not elated, but just in a neutral state. So let's just try that for a bit. So count each inhalation and exhalation as one, and then we'll repeat that 7 times, breathing in and out. We'll notice our mind wanders off very easily, but that's all right. You just recognise that and bring your focus back to the breath. So we'll try that for another 7 breaths. So this time, let's just visualise that before us is a great blazing white light, like the sun, beaming sun. And it represents purity. It represents all the good qualities that exist. You can think it represents the Buddha, or you could think it represents Jesus Christ, or whoever you feel is the embodiment of purity. And this light shines upon you and completely fills your body from the head to the toes. So we'll combine that with the breath, that all of that light just completely fills you as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, all your anxieties, all your unhappiness, all your loneliness, all your sadness, everything that you don't want, ill health, everything, all just leaves as black smoke, and it just falls into the earth and gone forever. So we'll do that for 7 times. So the white light in completely fills you, and then the black light getting rid of all those negativities. Okay, so that we can just come back. So this is something that we can do at any time and really try and feel the benefit of. You can experience the benefit of doing that. And there are further meditations which I can expand on later as well. Sorry, just... So, we've only got 10 minutes to go. Everybody's very welcome to stay for a cup of tea after this up in the diner. Does anybody have any questions or want to challenge or, ask anything? Yep.
I was worried when I learned about karma.
Yeah.
That people, or one, would choose to do kindness to others and wish for happiness for everyone and do actions that will lead to that. Because you'll have a better rebirth, because you won't go through a hell of
Yeah.
instead of just the essence of caring for others.
Oh, yes. And I do remember somebody in the audience asking that same question to Lama Zopa many, many years ago. And he said, no, it's for the benefit of the other person. That's why you're doing it. But there is a consequence, a karmic consequence of that. So I suppose, what we're trying to develop is love and compassion. We're trying to cultivate our love and compassion even more. It's natural that we will want to help those that are in need and suffering. So we're not actually in there collecting. We're not doing it with a motivation of, and I'll get something back from that. So that's not what we're trying to do. But there is a consequence of virtuous actions. You know, like I was talking to you earlier about this mind of bodhicitta, and this precious mind of bodhicitta, which is the heart of which is the essence of the Mahayana Buddhism, and it's rooted in love and compassion. But when Lama Zopa and Geshe Doga talk about bodhicitta, they say the benefit of generating the bodhicitta mind, you know, it's just the sky is not enough to hold the benefit. The benefits are just infinite. That's where I was going along with my thought. And you know, in Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, our goal is to achieve enlightenment. Why are we wanting to achieve enlightenment? It's for the benefit of all sentient beings. So there are two parts to bodhicitta. One is wanting to achieve enlightenment, the other is wanting to benefit all sentient beings. Which of those comes first? I want to benefit all sentient beings. Which comes second? I want to achieve enlightenment, because it's only if I'm enlightened that I have the skill and the capacity to actually be able to benefit sentient beings in a most meaningful way. So that's it. Any more questions? Go on.
What is the Buddhist belief regarding if you remember your human life? So when you're reincarnated, do you have a tie to the previous human life that you...
Do you have a what, sorry?
Do you have a tie to your previous life that you remember, or do you not maintain any memories from your human life when you're reincarnated?
Yes, I mean, I would love to remember my past life, but I have no memory whatsoever. Most people do. Some people do. There are people that have remembered their past life. And Geshe Doga has said, which was very interesting, that our behaviours in this life reflect our behaviours from our past life, and which sort of makes sense in a way. Our habits, our characteristics are carried forward into the next life. So...
Could you not imagine then that maybe we would have animals writing their names in the sand if they can remember who they used to be in a previous life?
No, because human beings have far greater intelligence than animals. Animals, we have discriminating wisdom. We can actually recognise what is virtuous and non-virtuous, and we can look at the source of our problems. Animals can't really do that.
I mean, if a human was reincarnated in a lower life, like an animal, would they have no memories of
Oh, I see. Look, I think I would have to say probably not, because it happens very rarely to be able to recall a past life. I'm not saying it's not possible. It probably is possible. There's many stories in the Buddha's previous lives before he achieved enlightenment, and I don't know if this really answers your question. It probably doesn't. But he was born as a turtle, and he was exhausted, and he came onto the sand, and the ants gathered around and started to eat him, and he just thought in the life story, this previous life story of the Buddha, if he moved, it will kill the ants. Therefore, I just have to give my body to the ants. So that seems to have a bit of a conscious awareness of something in that life. And you're more talking about as a human being reborn as an animal, would they remember? I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't think so. It's possible, definitely possible, but I think it's most unlikely. Because, you know, the story is that we have been cycling in cyclic existence in samsara since beginningless time. So rather than having a linear line that takes us back tens of thousands, millions and billions of years, it's sort of more like a circle. There's no beginning to that circle, there's no end to that. Well, there is an end if we escape samsara by uprooting the deep-rooted ignorance that holds us in samsara. That's a whole new topic, and wisdom is the antidote for that. But I'm more going from the point of view that we have been cycling in cyclic existence since beginningless time. Humans, animals, hell beings. So I don't think that's a very common thing that an animal, if a human is born in the next life as an animal, that they would remember their human life. Is that what you're meaning?
So then, going on from that, if the human population is growing and the consciousness has to be put into human life, is that consciousness coming from other animals, or is it brand new consciousness?
No, it's all. We all have. It's a mental continuum, a stream of consciousness. So it's not like there's a pool and a new consciousness comes off. We have a continuum of consciousness where our actions in our lives have planted seeds on that consciousness, and then they ripen according to those actions and propel us into our next life. So if you've lived a virtuous life, then you'll be propelled in your next life into a human life.
It seems like a human consciousness would be a good state to be in, a human consciousness. So if there's more and more humans, the consciousnesses are getting better and better.
Well, hopefully, yes. You know, I can only talk from the point of view of the causes for a human rebirth, which is morality. So that's simply to get a human rebirth. But to get a precious human rebirth, it has to have the practice of morality and the practice of generosity and also stainless prayers. They're the three particular causes that they say are required to obtain a precious human rebirth. So, you know, is because there's 8 billion humans, and are you saying there's more good, consciousness is getting better? It's sort of a bit more like a collective that you're talking about. But I think it comes down to the individual. You know, we can only plant karmic seeds on our own consciousness. We can't reap the result of another person's actions. So, you know, it is infectious if people are loving and caring and the community is like that. That is infectious, and it does foster that development of that. There's no doubt about that. But a collective consciousness in the world or in the universe is all moving up. I don't know if I can say that. You know, there's terrible things happening in the world.
But if there's more humans and a human consciousness is a good level to be on, there must be goodness, because more consciousness are coming out of those other cycles into the human plane.
Okay.
There's only so many.
Well, actually, okay, we've only got another couple of minutes, but the Buddha gave an analogy of the precious human rebirth. And this is what I read. The Buddha scratched the earth and he said, the dirt under my fingernail represents those born with a precious human rebirth. And he said, the remainder is the earth. So even though you might think 8 billion human beings, 8 billion human beings do not have a precious human rebirth. Because in terms of the Buddhist path, you have to have faith in that path. Some people don't have any faith in wanting to develop spiritually. and maybe they're not even, they don't even have the opportunity to think about anything like that. So, I don't know if I answered your question well. Any more questions? Last question? Yes, like next week I'll do another meditation, a slightly different one. You want to do a bit longer? Yep, sure, I talk too much tonight. Yeah? The idea is to do 20, 20, 20. So I'll condense that down to about 45, 15. All right, well, thank you all for coming. I hope you can come next week. Do take a photo of this book if you're interested. I just love it. I find it so inspiring, and you'll actually get a much better, a clearer explanation of all the points that are referred to in the Precious Human Rebirth. And I'll be back here next Monday, so please stay for a cup of tea if you'd like to stay. Thank you.